Okay, so I'm Chante, and I'm on the London Youth Involvement Project, which is a project run by Mentor. We've been going since 2009, and we have regular meetings. And like the main campaign of our project now, which is like really good and in correlation to this, is drugs education in schools. So we've been looking a lot at the roles of parents and the roles of young people and police about how they think their drugs education should be formed. And we did a lot of research. So we went to South Bank, we went to Camden, and we interviewed loads of parents, loads of young people, like loads of random people about how they thought drugs education was and how they thought the police and young people and parents should input in their child's drugs education. And we made we gave a survey out, over 500 surveys to schools and youth clubs in London, and we put our findings together in a report that Nicola is going to give out in the style of a newspaper. And we had a really big conference this year, February, where we invited loads of people, loads of ministers, teachers, to look at our findings and for us to show them what we found and how we'd really like to get involved in how drugs education is delivered in schools. So, in our findings, the two most shocking statistics were that 1 out of 5 young people didn't receive drugs education at all, and that was really bad. And out of those who actually did receive it, a third said they only received it once a year, which was really poor. So even though they were getting it, they were only getting it once a year, and like that's just lucky if they were able to get it. So, what parts of school drugs policy might young people like to have a say on? So definitely their drugs education. Young people should definitely have a say on who they'd like to deliver it, because like everybody knows themselves best, and young people know who they learn better of. So some young people may learn better from their friends, some people may learn better from teachers, some people learn better from family. So it's about them choosing who they'd like to have it from. And frequently, so maybe some of the young people who only received it once a whole year would like to have it more often. So we should really be asking those young people, how often would you like your drugs education, your lessons, drugs and alcohol education, and also the content. So when we say content, we mean like there are a lot of different ways, a lot of new legal highs and new drugs that are out that young people know about, and maybe teachers and parents won't know about. So they should have a say on what goes into it, the content. Also, like a lot of youth culture should be put into drugs and alcohol education, so it's more applicable and they can understand it more and be more actually into their lessons. Suitability for each year group. So when I was in year 11, I've literally just moved from year 11 to sixth form now, in a different sixth form, and I remember being in year 11 and still colouring in pictures of ecstasy tablets, and that wasn't the education that I wanted. I didn't even understand what this was. I just knew I was just sitting here in this lesson colouring in, and I was like, what is this about? So we should definitely try and structure it for each year group, because some things, or maybe colouring in ecstasy tablets is better for a year 7, but not so much for a year 11.
Sure, exactly, for a year 7.
It's true. It's like so. But then what they had later on in the year was, even though it wasn't directly about alcohol, they had this guy come in who was talking about knife crime and gang crime, and it really got to a lot of us because he was young and he was talking to us on a level that we understood, and we weren't colouring in pictures. So it was a lot better, and like I really liked it, and maybe we should have something like that. So yeah, and it could be interactive. We can have a guest speaker, a performance, because I do know that some performance companies do performances around like alcohol and drugs, and the whole play has a moral and like a main theme at the end, which is basically about this is the consequences if you use this drug or if you abuse this, which is really good. So young people should definitely have a say on how a school can support people. So if a young person is worried about their own drug use or somebody else's drug use, they should be able to go to the school, and the school should say, well, we can provide you with A, B, and C. So they should really have a say on that and how they would like to be helped by it as well, because obviously they're going to be the ones receiving help. Also, how drugs and alcohol are policed in school. So input on being searched. So like a lot of young people, they don't know a lot about their rights, and a lot of when it comes to stop and search, and like what happens when they're searched, and like they don't really understand, and we need to educate them about that. And also they need to understand that they need to be able to talk to police and talk to teachers about how they think they should be policed and how they think the school should police issues to do with drugs and alcohol, and rules about what happens when drugs are found. So it would be interesting to see what a young person would think about if they were found with drug and alcohol. How should they be punished by it? And that would also go under education as well, and possibly content, like the policing of what happens if you're found with a drug. So it's a really good way to test a young person's knowledge, that they can say, if I'm found with X drug, I'll get this many years in prison. Like, so it kind of, wherever they say from that, kind of reflects how well the content is being taught in schools. So how can young people be consulted? So like I said, when we did our research into how people thought the drugs education should be structured, so if it's more on the parents, on the schools, or on the police, we did loads of vox pops, so that would be a really interesting way. Also focus groups, and we said that measures should be in place so that young people don't feel intimidated. So not have a focus group with maybe 1 or 2 year 7s and quite a few year 9s and year 11s, because that may be a bit intimidating, especially for year 7s and maybe even for year 9s as well. So trusted staff and small groups will make young people feel more comfortable when giving answers, so they'll actually be honest. Because if you're in an intimidating situation, you're being asked to talk about drugs and alcohol, you may feel like you should say what the teacher wants you to say, not so much what you actually want to say. And questionnaires are really good way. Like, questionnaires aren't for everyone, so that's why we put different ways as well. But questionnaires are a really good way of trying to gather like facts and figures when it comes to like education and stuff. So like they should be like anonymous, so you can you're more inclined to give an honest answer. Also, school council member to sit on drugs policy panel. I think this is a really good way to really engage the youth with the policy. Also engage members of staff with young people, so they actually feel that they're being involved. It's really easy to shut off young people from decision making in schools, and sometimes like young people can be seen as a liability when it comes to giving them more responsibilities in school. But actually doing this means that young people are getting engaged, and they're going to be more inclined to see what's happening in their own school. And like this young person will feed back to the council, and the council will feed back to their form groups, and like everybody will get to know about what's going on, and they all want to input, which is really good. Also feedback, because when you're trying to get information of young people, if you don't tell them afterwards what came from this information and what they're using it for, they're going to be like, well, what was the point in asking me all these questions and I don't even know what it's for. So we should like definitely getting back to them about what we're doing. And this could also link with a school council member being on the policy panel, because then they could feedback what they got from the responses from the questionnaires or the vox pops or the focus groups, and so it lets you know that their thoughts and opinions are being taken on board, and they actually feel like a valued member of the school body. Sorry.
We missed one.
That's what I thought I did, but I can't seem to find it.
That was it?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I thought it was really quick.
Yeah.
So, to conclude, like, drugs policies really do matter. If you ask a young person about like their school drug policy, they're going to be a bit like, I don't know what you're talking about, they're not going to know. So it may seem like it doesn't matter to young people, but when you actually get them involved, like if like, before I joined Mental and I didn't know much about drugs education, I had problems with my own school drug education, and then they really taught me about how important it was, and now I feel really passionate about young people knowing about this, and like a drug policy really does matter, because it really does help young people, even if they don't know it does, but just getting them involved will make them more passionate about it. So do involve pupils when shaping them, because I'm sure they have great opinions, and it's a really good way to get them involved with the school. And it will help students to understand the consequences. So just in case a guest speaker or form tutor or a parent they don't really help young people to understand the dangers of drugs and alcohol, but maybe getting involved with a policy and showing them like what will happen, how they can get involved, what they can do, it will help them to understand the consequences. And it should always have pupils' welfare at its heart. So just definitely looking at how it affects the young person and how they can get involved, and what they can get from being involved with it as well.